Hello, everybody. I'm Applejack Eclipse, and I'm here today for our second story hour, where we are focusing on middle school LGBTQ reads. I'm so excited, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And the first book that I have to read is called The List of Things That Will Not Change. It is about a girl, B. She's 12 years old, but she's kind of looking back at a time when she was 10, and she's kind of going through a lot of changes in her life. Her parents are getting divorced. She found out that her dad is gay, and her parents kind of give her a book to keep track of the consistencies in her life, because the only thing that's constant is change. And they kind of wanted her to know that not everything that she was going to be experiencing was change. And that there were some things that were going to stay the same, like how much they love her, for example. So without further ado, we are not going to read the whole thing. We're not going to read the full books of any of these selections that I have today, but we are going to read, a couple chapters or an excerpt to kind of give you a taste of what the book is about. All right. And without further ado, we have the book, The List of Things That Will Not Change. Oops, sorry. Let me just... there we go. The List of Things That Will Not Change by Rebecca Stead. The Sound of Corn. Just last weekend, my dad told me a story that explained one or two things about his wedding day. Not his first wedding day, the second one. The story about him and Uncle Frank when they were little. They grew up in Minnesota, across from a cornfield where every summer the corn grew very quickly. Dad says the corn had no choice because the summers are short in Minnesota. It was either grow fast or don't bother. Every year, Dad and Uncle Frank would stand together in the corn, listening to it grow. No one ever believed them, but they could hear the leaves squeaking, stretching for the sun. They both heard the corn growing, Dad said, and no one else did. You never told me that before, I said. I liked thinking of them standing in the corn like that. I didn't? Dad was flipping pancakes. We have this new pancake griddle that covers 2 stove burners, so now he can make 4 pancakes at once. It's great. Did you hold hands? Who? You and Uncle Frank in the corn, so you wouldn't lose each other. Dad snorted. No. Have you ever seen Uncle Frank holding hands with anyone? You'd probably never guess they're brothers. Uncle Frank is reddish white, and my dad has a ton of brown freckles that give him a year-round face tan. Dad is a talker, and Uncle Frank isn't. Dad loves food, every kind of it, and Uncle Frank said if he could live on 1 hard-boiled egg a day, he would be happy. If you want to know the story about, or if you want to know what the sound of corn growing explains about my dad's second wedding day, I'll have to tell you a longer story about a lot of things that happened 2 years ago when I was 10. It's a story about me, but a different me, a person who doesn't exist anymore. I've never seen Uncle Frank holding hands with someone. I have seen Uncle Frank holding hands with someone exactly 1 time that I can remember. Chapter 2, Angelica. The summer I turned 10, my cousin Angelica fell from the sleeping loft at our family's lake cabin. Uncle Frank said her head missed the wood stove by 4 inches. She hit the floor with a bad sound, a whump. Then we didn't hear anything. No crying, no yelling, nothing. Until finally, there was the sound of Angelica trying to breathe. Dad got there first. Aunt S, Angelica's mom, called her from her room. What was that, Dan? What was that? He answered, It's Angelica. She fell, but she's okay. She got the wind knocked out of her, but I think she's okay. From the loft, I saw Angelica sit up. Dad was rubbing her back in circles. Uncle Frank and Aunt S came crashing from the bedroom, and then Angelica started crying these short, jagged cries. The next morning, Uncle Frank said that if her head had hit the wood stove, Angelica could have died. By that time, she looked normal. She was wearing her turquoise 2-piece bathing suit and chewing her eggs with her lips sealed tight. No bruises even. She landed on her back, Dad said, which is what knocked the wind. She landed on her back, Dad said, which is what knocked her wind out. That summer, my parents had been divorced for 2 years already, but I still thought about when Mom used to come to the lake cabin with us. I could picture her red bathing suit on the clothesline. I remember which end of the table she sat at for dinner. I remember her sitting on the dock with Aunt S talking. Mom and Dad told me about the divorce at a family meeting. I had just turned 8. We never had a family meeting before. I sat on the couch between them. They didn't look happy, and I suddenly got worried that something was wrong with our cat Red. They were going to tell me he was dying. A boy in my class that year had a cat who died, but that wasn't it. Dad put his arm around me and said that some big things were going to change. Mom squeezed my hand. Then Dad said they were getting divorced. Soon he was going to move out of our apartment into a different one. I said, but I'm staying here, right? I looked at Mom. Dad said, I was going to have 2 homes and 2 rooms instead of 1. I was going to live in both places. I could think of only one person in my class whose parents were divorced, Carolyn Shattuck. Carolyn had a navy blue sweatshirt with one big pocket in front. Until the family meeting, I had wanted one just like it. I said, what about Red? Mom said that Red would be staying with her, with us, you and me. You and me. That made me feel awful because back then, I couldn't think of Mom and me without Dad. Dad said, things are changing, Bee, but there are still a lot of things you can count on, okay? Things that won't ever change. This was when they gave me the green spiral notebook and the green pen. My favorite color is green. In the notebook, they had made a list. The list was called Things That Will Not Change. I started reading. 1. Mom loves you more than anything. Always. 2. Dad loves you more than anything. Always. I skipped to the end, uncapped my green pen, and wrote, Red will stay with me and Mom. I said, I want my rainbow to stay here too, over my bed. Dad painted that little rainbow right on the wall when I was really little. Mom said, yes, of course, sweetie. Your rainbow will stay right where it is. I wrote that down too. Number 8. Dad moved into a different apartment a month later. I go back and forth between them. Here's how it works. Monday is a dad day. Tuesday is a mom day. Wednesday is a dad day. Thursday is a mom day. Friday is part of the weekend. The weekend is Friday and Saturday. The weekend alternates. Sunday is Sunday. Sunday is its own day. Sunday alternates. Before Dad moved out, I thought of the weekend as Saturday and Sunday. Now I think of the weekend as Friday and Saturday, and I think of Sunday as Sunday. Right after the family meeting, I found Red asleep in the laundry basket and carried him to my room, where I opened the new notebook. I looked at the list of things that will not change. My parents had written. Number 1, Mom loves you more than anything. Always. Number 2, Dad loves you more than anything. Always. Number 3, Mom and Dad love each other, but in a different way. Number 4, you will always have a home with each of us. Number 5, your homes will never be far apart. Number 6, we are still a family, but in a different way. After that, I carried the green spiral notebook with me everywhere. I asked a lot of questions. I used the green pen. And that is where we are going to stop. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And if you want to kind of learn a little bit more about Bee and her past and her adventures and kind of more of like what she's going through, what she's experiencing, I really strongly suggest that you keep reading this book. It is so good. And with that, we're going to move on to our next book. Hold on one second. Which is Zenobia and July. So, oh, sorry, it's just Zenobia July. Zenobia July is an awesome book. It's about a girl named Zenobia. She's trans. She just moved from her dad's, living with her dad to now living with her aunts. And it's really a book about finding your community, finding that place that you fit, and it's just such a good book. So I'm just pulling it up here on my screen really quick. And then now I'm about to share my screen with all of you. There we go. Zenobia July, a novel by Lisa Bunker. Here we go, chapter 1. She had that new kid look. Anyone paying attention could have seen it. In the flinchiness of her shoulders, and the way that her eyes skittered from face to face as the other students streamed past, managed to show up, her shoulders and eyes said, but not sure about having the nerve to actually go in. Might be too much today. Not that anyone was paying attention. The first day of school at Monarch Middle, everyone was scoping for friends, shouting, hey, clustering up. It was a hot morning. It felt like summer, swearing it was going to stick around this year. No, really. The wind moving through the high branches of the trees made the wavering leaf shadows. The new kid was wearing a blue dress that was too big for her. Sneakers with white socks pushed down, and a heavy-looking backpack. Her jumbled mop-flop hair made her face look smaller and her eyes look bigger. The tiny metal balls, or ear piercers, and newly pierced ears glinted in her lobes. She hovered behind a pillar at the far end of the entrance, away from the crush. Few students now, mostly single ones hurrying to beat the bell. Each time the metal and glass doors swung shut, a mirror image of the sidewalk clunked back into place, and each time the new kid's eyes shifted towards it. She looked like she might be asking her reflection to tell her that everything was going to be all right. Then her eyes always went down again, like maybe her reflection had shaken its head. Now a minute with no one using the leftmost door. This time her eyes stayed. She stared at the mirror image. She turned first to one side and then the other. She swished her dress. A furtive glance around and then an awkward pirouette. As she finished the spin, a truck passed behind her, turning the reflection background dark and transparent. She then screened her face with her hands and cringed away. Someone was watching her through the glass. The door opened and the watcher came out, another student. What you might notice first, if you were a detail person, the sharp-edged, exact haircut with a part, the stocky square body shape, the jeans rolled up to mid-calf, revealing mismatched socks, the button-down shirt and boots, the big black glasses. Or if you were the more general impression type, you might notice that this new person seemed equally balanced between looking like a girl and looking like a boy. The watcher approached cautiously, stopped a few steps away. Hey, you okay? No answer. I haven't seen you before. Are you new? Still no answer, just an eyes wide look, but then one quick nod. Oh, okay. Silence. So you want to come inside? School's about to start. The new kid crawled sideways like she was trying to disappear into herself. The bell rang, her body jerked. You don't say much. Not mean, just saying. The skin around those big eyes had wrinkles in it. I can talk, just above a whisper, but clear enough. Cool. You can dance too. Looked good. Nice moves. The new kid's fingers twisted together. So the person who can talk and dance, do you also have a name? Again, the new kid tried to disappear so hard she stumbled back around. After a couple seconds, though, her head came up and her spine got straight again, and she turned back. My name is Zenobia, a little gasp after, like it had taken all her strength to say. What? No way. How do you spell that? Zenobia spelled her name. And what's your last name? The question was eager, almost hard, but it came with a light in the eyes. Some kind of geeky glee happening here. My last name? Yeah. Silence. Then July, an actual whisper this time. Like the month? Yes, my name is Zenobia July. Another gasp. All of a sudden, a geeky glee, stronger now, beaming out. That is totally excellent. 11 letters and no repeats. Zen's eyes went up and left. For a second, picturing the alphabet, she forgot to look scared. You're right, she said. I never noticed. That's the closest anyone came to matching me. But you didn't, not quite. I got 13. 13 letters? Uh-huh, with no repeats. Yeah. Zen waited. Then, sounding just a little annoyed, okay then, so what's your name? Arlie. People call me Arli. That's only 4 letters. No duh. So what's your full name? Yeah, you know what? I'm already late for class. Find me at lunch and ask me again then. You coming in? Zen's eyes did another circuit. School entrance, down at herself, then up again to Arlie's face. For the first time, a touch of a smile. Yeah, okay, I guess I can. Thanks. They went in together through the mirrored door. So there you go. We're going to stop here because this is a good stopping point. But this is kind of, again, she's like moving to a new school. She's kind of unsure of herself, but she finds her way. She finds her place. She finds her community. And that's super awesome. And if you want to keep going, please, I strongly suggest that you read Zenobia July. So that is our second read. Our third book that we have going on is A High Five for Glenn Burke. So this is a cool book that I really enjoy. It's about a kid. Sorry, I'm just pulling up the next book. It's about a kid named Silas Wade. He does a project on Major League Baseball player Glenn Burke, who is also the inventor of the high five. And he also happens to be gay and kind of doing this project on him. Silas kind of finds his strength to kind of work his way and come out himself. So we are going to read some of this book next. And it's really good if you're a sports fan. I think you're really going to like it. And yeah. So for whatever reason, this one doesn't have the cover picture. All right, here we go, sharing the screen. Here we go, introducing Glenn Burke. Let's do this, Silas, I say to myself. I'm wearing my baseball uniform in school, and I never wear my baseball uniform because 6th graders don't wear their baseball uniforms to Hugh. They never wear their uniforms to Hugh Middle School unless they want to be nonstop teased by 7th grade and 8th graders. But I'm wearing my Renegades uniform today because today's the day. Today's finally the day. I'm standing on my toes, bouncing at the front of Miss Washington's class. All the tables, chairs, couches, beanbags, gaming rockers, and floor pillows are pushed to the sides. The kids are off to the sides too. Some of them are standing, but most are sitting. My best friend Zoe is in the back on one of the green black bungee chairs with her feet on the armrest of the denim couch. Miss Washington let me turn the classroom into a pretend baseball field for my oral presentation on a famous inventor. I used blue painter's tape for the diamond, flattened shoebox tops for the bases, and a balanced ball for the pitcher's mound. And projected on the whiteboard behind me is an image of the packed bleachers of Dodger Stadium on a Sunday afternoon. I don't know why I'm so nervous. Actually, I do know why I'm so nervous. I know exactly why I'm so nervous. I take my last breath. Introducing Glenn Burke. I pluck the royal blue Dodgers cap from the stool to my right and slap it on my head. When Glenn Burke arrived to the big leagues in 1976, the Los Angeles Dodgers thought he was going to be the next Willie Mays. That's like saying a soccer player will be the next Messi, or a basketball player is going to be the next LeBron. I grabbed the yellow wiffle ball bat, propped against my stool, and flip it with one hand, snatch it out of the air with the other. Glenn Burke was a five-tool talent, I say. Five-tool talents don't come around that often. What's a five-tool talent? Zoe calls out. Good question, I say, pointing the bat. Zoe learned her lines Wednesday after school. She and I hang out at her house every Wednesday. Five-tool talents have all the skills, I say, walking across the room to home plate. One five-tool talent hits for average. One five-tool talent hits for an average and then puts the bat on the ball. I take a swing. Two five-tool talents hit for power and can blast the ball out of any park. I take a bigger swing and watch my imaginary home run soar over the fence. That ball is out of here. I shoot the bat across the floor and jog to first. Three five-tool talents can fly. They steal bases and take extra bases. I run to second, slide, pop up, and then head to third. Safe. I grab my glove off the stool and crow hop back to the front of the room. Four, I say. Five-tool talents can field. They catch everything that comes their way. I pound my glove, feel for the whiteboard, and then pretend I'm taking away a home run with a leaping grab. Web gem. I take the invisible ball out of my glove and fire it back into the infield. Five. Five-tool talents can throw. Their arms are cannons. I mic drop my mitt. Five-tool talents don't come around too often. I'm killing my oral presentation. Miss Washington is looking at me the same way she looked at Daphne during her presentation on Lizzie Maggie's, the woman who invented Monopoly, and the way that she looked at Kyle during his presentation on Stephen Kolek, the scientist who invented Kevlar, the material used in bulletproof vests. Miss Washington's big into theater. She always directs the musicals up at the high school and loves it when kids turn their presentations into performances. That's what Daphne and Kyle did last week, and that's what I'm doing right now. I peep Zoe, who's double dimple grinning at me like she does when we're standing on her living room couch singing karaoke. Zoe's got deep dimples in both her cheeks, and her double dimple smile is her super happy smile. Zoe knows how badly I wanted to present today. She saw how pumped I was yesterday when Miss Washington told me that I would be second up this afternoon. But not even Zoe knows why I didn't want to wait until Monday. Not even Zoe why I needed to do this today. Heading into the final weekend of the 1977 baseball season, I say, the Los Angeles Dodgers had a chance to make history. No team had ever had four players hit 30 home runs in the same season. But for the Dodgers that year, Steve Garvey, Reggie Smith, and Ron Kay all had more than 30, and Dusty Baker had 29. I pick up the wiffle bat and head back to the plate. The Los Angeles Dodgers were one Dusty Baker home run away from the world records. I take a big swing and pretend to miss. Then I take another big swing and pretend to miss again. Dusty didn't hit a home run on Friday night, I say. He didn't hit a home run on Saturday either. He had one last chance on Sunday afternoon, but for the Dodgers to make history, Dusty Baker would have to hit that home run off of James Rodney Richard, the hardest throwing pitcher in all of baseball. I leave the bat at the plate, head for the balance ball, and pull the old school Astros lid out of my back pocket. The Stros are my favorite team, which is why I have the vintage hat, a Christmas present from last year. I put it on over my Dodgers cap and imitate J.R. Richards' high kick motion. Dusty didn't hit a home run in his first at-bat, I say. He didn't hit a home run in his second at-bat either. Dusty had one last chance. I leave the Astros cap on the balance ball and return to home plate as I step back into the pretend batter's box. Zoe starts playing music on her phone, and the organ music they play at ball games that gets the fans clapping. Zoe begins to clap, Miss Washington joins in, and then so do a bunch of the other kids. I brush the number 3 on my sleeve of my Renegades jersey. I wore the number 3 because Benjamin Franklin Rodriguez, my favorite character from The Sandlot, the greatest movie ever made, wore number 3 when he played for the Dodgers as a grown-up in the movie, which happened to be the number Glenn Burke wore when he played for the Dodgers. But I didn't know Glenn Burke wore the number 3 until I was researching him and came across the photo of his 1978 Topps baseball card. When I did, I almost fell off my bed. Strike 1, I say. Ball 1. Strike 2. I stare at the imaginary pitcher and announce the play-by-play. 1-2 to Baker. J.R. Richard rocks into his windup. Around comes the arm. 1-2 pitch. I take a mighty swing and flip the bat. Home run! I'm still play-by-playing. Home run! I raise my arms and start circling the bases. Dusty Baker has blasted a home run into the bleachers and the Dodgers into the record books. Home run! Dusty. Zoe stands and cheers. Dusty! As Dusty Baker heads for home, I say, slowing down as I round third. Glenn Burke bolted from on-deck circle as Dusty crossed the plate. Glenn threw his right arm into the air and waved his hand wildly. Dusty smacked Glenn's right hand with his own right hand. Zoe and I acted out. A high five, I say. The very first high five. Zoe bows and returns to her seat. I remain at the plate. Glenn Burke stepped into the batter's box. I pick up the bat. Unlike his Dodgers teammates, he hadn't been slugging home runs all season. The rookie was still looking for his very first home run in the big leagues. I took another mighty swing and flipped the bat again. Home run, I say, admiring the make-believe blast. Home run! I sprint around the bases and jump on home plate. When Glenn Burke reaches his dugout, his teammates greeted him with a handshake and helmet rubs. I slap his hands with Connor and Caitlin and bend down so Nolan and Mia can pat and rub my head. Dusty Baker threw his right arm into the air and waved his hand wildly, I say, and Glenn Burke smacked his dusty right hand with his own right hand. Zoe pops back up and we acted out again. A high five, I say, the second ever high five. A handshake was born. I dart back across the diamond, spring off the balance ball, and land in front of the whiteboard. Suddenly, the high five was everywhere, I say. I'm up on my toes again and waving my arms. It spread through baseball, then it spread through soccer, football, basketball, and hockey, to sports around the country, to all sports around the world. Soon people were high-fiving in classrooms and courtrooms and boardrooms, on playgrounds and campgrounds and fairgrounds, on movies and on television. Even the Pope was high-fiving the President of the United States. Even the Pope was high-fiving, and the President of the United States was high-fiving. I slide over to Miss Washington and hold up my hand. She gives me a high five. Yeah, absolutely killing my oral presentation. Nearly half a century later, I say, the high five lives on and on. It's now a universal greeting known around the globe as a gesture of excitement and a gesture of joy, a gesture of unity and a gesture we feel in our souls. I thump my chest, a gesture that began with Glenn Burke, the man who invented the world's most famous handshake. I let out a breath. I actually did it. Nobody knows what I really did, but I did it. I finally did it. So that's an awesome book. And we're going to do some more kind of exploring into Glenn Burke's history too, as we kind of go through this. And the history in this book is factual. And it's kind of through Glenn Burke that, our main character, which I don't know why I'm blanking because I absolutely should not be blanking, he finds his truth as well. So Silas, that's his name. So it's kind of through Glenn Burke that Silas kind of finds himself and gives him the courage to kind of live his own truth. So that's super awesome. Such a great book. And then we have one final book that we are going to share. And this final book is Second Dad's Summer by Benjamin Klas. And it's a book about this kid named Jeremiah. He is going to be spending the summer with his dad and his dad's boyfriend. And his dad's boyfriend just moved in with his dad. And to Jeremiah, he's kind of weird. He has a unicorn bike, he eats lots of organic food, he's a little naggy, but Jeremiah's gonna kind of learn that, you know what? Family is family. And even if it's kind of weird, it's still kind of awesome. So without further ado, here we go. I was just pulling up the book. We are going to share my screen. Sorry, everybody, having technical difficulties for 1 second. There we go. So the name of this book is Second Dad's Summer. Chapter 1. I stood up on my pedals. I just needed to add space between me and Michael so people wouldn't think we're together, even though we were. Dad pedaled peacefully in front of me, keeping me from making much progress in the whole escaping Michael thing. It wasn't that I had anything in particular against Michael, Dad's new boyfriend, except that Michael was loud and too obsessive with his looks. Oh, and he rode around on a bicycle decorated to look like a unicorn. Neon glitter coated the frame of Michael's bike. This one has some pictures. Rainbow streamers flew out from the handlebars, and right in between those handlebars, he mounted a plush, sparkling unicorn head. It had the creepy look of smiling in a crazy, happy way whenever I look back at it. Mike even named the book The Unicycle. Oops, sorry. At least Michael was sweating. I hope the ride to the Stone Arch Bridge Festival that he and Dad talked about would wear Michael down a little. Jeremiah, Michael called to me. Can we slow down? He panted between each word. The unicycle was one speed, one of those old ones with uncomfortable seats and high handlebars. It was definitely made for rolling, not racing. I pretended not to hear him, but Dad slowed down. Almost there, troops, he called. Michael finally caught up with us as the buildings of downtown Minneapolis thinned and the sparkling river spread out in front of us. There she is, Dad said. The Great Mississippi. Cool, I said. I had seen the Mississippi plenty of times. Living with Mom in eastern Iowa, it was pretty normal. It was a pretty normal sight, but somehow it looked different here in the middle of a city, strapped down by all the bridges and traffic. Michael's breath was evening out. There's the Stone Arch Bridge. He pointed to a bridge, the only bridge made of stone that happened to arch over the river. No kidding, I say. I was trying to give Michael a chance. I really was, but he was making it difficult. Now that Michael had his breath back, he started on his informational speeches. It was completed way back in 1883. They say the cost of it was equivalent to, I sighed as Michael talked on. I had already learned all about the history of Dad and Michael's neighborhood, which library was a Carnegie library, and about the rich heritage of transit. Apparently, Minneapolis had quite the system of streetcars back in the day. Really useful information. Where's the festival? I said when Michael stopped. A breath. Mostly over the bridge, Dad said. Onward. As we pedaled slowly into the crowd of people going across the bridge, Michael tried to keep the running commentary, how the bridge had been called Hill's Folly, which Depot was supposed to connect to. I decided I might as well tune him out. The bridge was great and all, but it was a bridge. And as a bridge, it tended to squish everybody into a narrow space. Since we were cyclists on the bridge, we got to ride through the middle of the crowd in twin cycling lanes. This is probably great if you're just riding, but it made a perfect audience on both sides of us to watch the unicycle roll past. I would have stood up on my pedals again, but the bike traffic was too slow. Michael finally stopped tour guiding. I looked back to see his attention had moved on to waving happily at the passing crowds, who whistled and pointed and laughed and catcalled. My cheeks felt like they were on fire. As soon as we finished crossing, I spotted a bike rack in the park. Let's park here, I said, trying to sound casual but convincing. We could bike ride into the festival, Dad said. I looked at the distant tents and vendors. It'll be too crowded for bikes, I said hopefully. It worked. As I pulled a U-lock around my bike, Michael winked at me. See, he said, I don't have to lock this baby up because, really, who would dare steal such a noble beast? Who would want to? Which is a shame because, really, the ride back wouldn't be so bad with Michael running behind us instead of running that awful bike. Michael took off his helmet and then put it on the smiling unicorn head, clipping it under the sparkly chin. The unicorn stuck out from one of those ventilation gaps. I turned away, rolling my eyes. I pulled my water bottle from the clip on my bike. It is covered in condensation, but already the water inside was warm and tasted like plastic. Let's go, I said. But Michael stood on tiptoe in front of Dad. Michael seemed small, standing next to Dad, who had spent 5 years operating machinery at construction sites. At first, I thought they were about to kiss or something, but then I realized Michael was fussing with his highlighted hair and the reflection of Dad's sunglasses. Dad kept turning his head so Michael would have to reposition his face, both of my dad's unshaven cheeks held in Michael's hand. If my own cheeks could have gotten any redder, I'm sure they would have. When Michael finished arranging his hair, Dad ran his fingers through his own hair until it stood out in wild brown curls. Then he pulled out his Timberwolves hat over the mess, leaving it to stick out from under the edges. I ran my fingers through my own hair, which inherited Dad's dirt brown color, but not the curls. It was mostly limp and hung over my ears and forehead. Michael leaned in to whisper something to my dad, and I looked away. It wasn't something that I minded, the fact that Dad dated guys. Sometimes he dated men, sometimes women. That was just the way it was. But still, we were in public. And some things are just too embarrassing to watch. I'm walking, I said. I'm going to the festival, which did the job of breaking them apart to follow me towards the crowds, tents, and vendors. As we walked away from the bikes, I could feel my pulse slow down a little. We flowed with the people down a brick street until the booths and trailers surrounded us. I figured it must be some sort of art festival. Besides the trailer selling funnel cake and roasted corn on the cob, most of the tents were full of paintings and glass sculptures, and the birch bark bowls and stuff. The birch bark bowls and stuff. It was crowded like everything in the city, or maybe it just felt crowded because I was used to living with Mom in the middle of nowhere. Oh, we have to stop there. Michael pointed at a stand shaped like a giant lemon. Festival lemonade is amazing. They load it with cherry syrup. You drink that, I asked? Not because it sounded bad, but because he usually only drank purified water and weird organic teas. It's my one vice, he said. Come on, Jeremiah, I'll buy you one. I'm fine, I said. I brought a water bottle and took another sip of the warm, plasticky water. For reals, Michael said, you need one. It's like drinking liquid radiance. I'm fine, I said. We had to wait in line with Michael until I bought a gigantic lemonade. He took one long gulp and then held it out to Dad. Dad curled his lips around the straw. There was something kind of romantic about the way they leaned together to share the drink. It's surprising to see in Dad. Yep, Dad said. I feel radiant now. Michael held the cup out to me. I looked away and took another warm sip from my water bottle. We walked onward through the festival. We passed a bluegrass band, tent selling letterpress cards, low glass ornaments, and handmade jewelry. I drifted behind Dad and Michael. Michael kept sipping from the giant cup of lemonade, pointing to this and that, and Dad kept taking little sips too. And he was smiling in a way I hadn't seen him smile before. Just as I was starting to feel totally invisible, I saw a trailer selling cheese curds. I pulled Dad away from Michael, dug into my wallet, and bought some. Happy Father's Day, I said, handing him the carton of fried cheese. Why, thank you, Jer, Dad said. He flicked one in the air and caught it in his mouth. Nothing beats that. I felt a little better. Better yet, Michael wouldn't eat any. He said he didn't consume anything drowned in oil. He'd go ahead and live on his oil-free cherry lemonade planet for all I cared. As we merged back into the crowd, my pocket buzzed. I pulled out my phone. It was Mom. Jer Bear, she said. How are you? I had to press the phone against my ear to hear her and the noise. I also hoped this trap I also hoped this trapped the sound of her voice, especially because the whole Jer Bear thing. Jer Bear sounds cute and cuddly, but I got the nickname because when I was a toddler, I was pretty grouchy. Might still be a little grouchy, but Michael didn't need to know about my nickname. I'm fine, I said, trying to talk loud enough to be heard without actually shouting. Dad and Michael stepped a little ahead of me, probably trying to give me some privacy, as if privacy were a thing that could happen here. We did a Father's Day ride and now we're at a festival. It's really noisy. I hoped that would be enough to keep the conversation short, but it wasn't. Mom loved to do these check-ins when I spent my summers with Dad. Sounds fun, she said. Boy, I missed you already. How are you? Is Al feeding you? And I mean 3 square meals a day? Meals, Pop-Tarts, and Hot Pockets don't count. I'm fine, I said. How are you? You'll never guess what I bought, she said. Tomatoes. I know you're the one with the green thumb, but I thought, what the heck? Why not give it another shot? This is what she seemed to think every year. Great, I said. Probably they would be dead by the end of the week. Mom's gardening skills were almost as sad as Dad's cooking. Of course, Michael took care of that now. He was always making stuff like free-range chicken with braised cranberries or marinated tofu salad. But I wasn't about to tell that to Mom. Dad and Michael were making their way over to a line of porta-johns. Apparently, the liquid radiance had worked its magic on Michael. He disappeared into one. It's noisy, I said into my phone. Let's talk later. Love and hugs. She made a kissing sound. I hung him up. Your mom? Dad asked. He always called her my mom instead of Laura. Yep. How is she? She's planting tomatoes, I said. We both laughed and then stood together side by side. Just him and me, like it used to be. Then Michael came back out. Wowzers, I feel better, he said. Dad threw his head back and laughed, and he went in to take a turn. Now I stood with Michael. He immediately began to talk about the festivals that would happen that summer. Art festivals, movies in the park, something called the Aquatennial, and of course, Twin Cities Pride is next weekend. Really, the other festivals pale in comparison. Do you like Pride festivals? I just shrugged. I had never actually been to a Pride festival. Dad wasn't really a festival sort of guy. As far as I knew, Dad had never been to a Pride festival either. I don't think Dad really cares about that stuff, I said. Michael arched one of his eyebrows. It didn't surprise me that he could do this. Alan said he's excited about going. Alan. Nobody calls Dad Alan. He's Al. Michael kept talking. Alan and I thought we could go as a family. I stared at Michael. You're not my family. He looked down at the ground and then back at me. I could tell he was working hard to keep the smile stretched across his face. Dad stepped out of the porta-john. Michael and I turned towards him with a big smile pulled over both of our faces. Onward, Dad said, oblivious. This was going to be a long summer. So that is the start of Second Dad's Summer. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and this is going to conclude our second Drag Story Hour. I really, really hope that you enjoyed it. And next week, we're going to be looking at some high school reads, and I really hope that you like it. And if y'all have any questions for me or requests or what have you, like, please post in the comments or let me know. And I hope you all have an awesome day. Happy Pride, everybody. Bye.